Welcome back, college baseball fans, to another episode of ACC Central. This week, it's Georgia Tech, and I am joined by the reigning National Freshman of the Year, Drew Burress. Drew, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Drew, you're one of the first players that started following us, and we really like that because we jumped on that Georgia Tech bandwagon pretty early last year. You had quite the freshman year. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about your summer a little bit before we get into talking about Georgia Tech. And you had pretty fun summer as well. I mean, you played a lot of baseball. You did 2 stints in the Cape, sandwiched around a Team USA invite. What was that experience like, specifically for Team USA first? What was that like? And you had a really good time there in Cary.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've had the chance to play with and do some of the Team USA stuff a couple times now, and I mean, anytime you get a chance to go out there and not only play with those guys, but obviously, you're kind of competing with them at the same time you're playing with them, and it's just. It's a different level of baseball, and obviously, college baseball is a different level of baseball. But then, at that stage, you're really there with the best of the best. And I actually got a chance too, which was really cool. I know Lavalette and Canarella were both kind of nursing some injuries, so I actually got a chance to play. The way they had it separated, it was mostly like a sophomore team and a freshman team. I got a chance to play with the sophomore team and play against the Chinese Taipei and some with a bunch of those guys that are going to hear the names called real early this year. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I saw that because I was like, "Oh, Drew got promoted to the the higher team," because the freshman team was like an ACC All-Star team, which was pretty funny because I ended up seeing them. I didn't get to see y'all except via stream, but it was really cool to see that talent. And had you met most of the guys before, or was that kind of the first?
Yeah, I've known obviously just around the summer circuit and stuff. Most of the guys from my class, most of the freshman guys, I've known before, but I honestly didn't know a lot of those guys that I played with on that sophomore team, just because obviously, just running different circuits.
Were you able to learn anything from some of those guys? Pick anything up from them in that short amount of time, or?
Yeah, for sure. Me and Henry Ford and Daniel Cuvette, we had some good hitting talks, and I'm excited to see what those guys do this year because I know I'm going to have to keep up with them.
Yeah, it was a real blast because during the season, because everyone knew about you and Daniel, and then Henry kind of came out of nowhere, but it was like the ACC is in good hands for a couple of years because we all there, and that's not even including some of the other freshman talent. But going up to the Cape, you were playing with the YD Red Sox, and there was a while there. And I talked about this with Gavin Gallagher, whose interview actually just aired. He was on your team there, but that lineup that you guys had was bonkers for about a week and a half because it was you leading off. RJ Austin batting second. Wahio Waloy was still there. Anthony Martinez. Easton Carmichael and Ethan Petrie. That was your 1 through 6.
Yeah, not half bad.
So, because I that's why I was like, somebody was like, who should I watch on the Cape? I'm like, just looking at the lineups, that one. That must have been pretty cool because that's an all-star team right there.
Yeah, Coach Pick did a great job building that roster, and that was obviously a blast to play with those guys, and just go out there. It's a different experience out there in the Cape, a little bit different brand of baseball, and it was fun to get to experience.
And yeah, you had some really good moments there, but you did have a couple of down moments there because I think it was. It's the end of the long season. What was dealing with that kind of like, obviously you found your stride again with Team USA, but was there a little frustration there, a little bit up the Cape?
Yeah, of course. Anytime you're not, obviously I didn't for a lot of while I was up there, I didn't play up to my standards. And that's just one of those baseball things. It's going to happen, and you got to go out there and compete and try to get better, whether you feel good or not. And that's kind of it was a good, like I said, it was a great experience for me to kind of be able to work through that. And obviously I had games where I didn't do great this year during the season, but it was more of stints in the Cape, so it's good. Obviously anytime you're you're able to work through some stuff that when you're not feeling your best, it's always better for you in the end.
Yeah, that's a good point because it didn't feel like you had too many struggles during the regular season. So I think when I remember texting somebody about it, and they were like, "Oh, he's human," like yeah, he faced some adversity. But one thing that was really fun is, and I was surprised the travel, and a number of you guys did this, that you guys played your game for Team USA, and then immediately went, and the next day was back in the lineup up in the Cape. I think there was like 3 or 4 of you that did that, and I was like, I am stunned.
Yeah, yeah, we got back. It was actually crazy. We got back from from the game on the July 4th game. Got back to the hotel at like I think it was like 1:30 or 2, and our flights were at like 7:15. So we went to bed for like 3 hours and got up and had like a 5:30 bus and went and got to the Cape about 2 hours before BP. I went and laid down in the bed and took a nap for an hour and went to the field.
And it's funny, you did really well on very little sleep, because it was funny, Micah got to interview you right after the July 4th game, and I think after the interview had said something like one of your goals is to hit a home run right when you get back to the Cape, and Micah had shared that with me, and so I'm watching you the next day in the Cape knowing that you must have had very little sleep, and you just went off.
Yeah.
And you did hit a home run. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool.
I led off the game. The first pitch back I hit a homer. So.
That's right. Okay, that's right. I was sitting there. I was like, I couldn't remember. We were talking pregame or pre-show, and I was like, I couldn't remember if you hit a double first or a home run first, but you then hit a double in the next at bat. So that must have felt good after the first stint maybe was a little bit more tough. But
yeah.
Speaking of, we'll talk a little bit about your freshman season. You arrive on campus with a ton of expectations. I think some publications had you as the number one guy to make it to campus. How did you handle those expectations and the pressure? Obviously, you handled them very well, but what was that kind of like, trying to block out that noise and live up to those expectations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've to be honest with you, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, I always set those expectations for myself. I mean, I expect to be the best, and if I'm not the best, then it's a failure. So, I mean, it's great to kind of be recognized by some platforms that and just kind of know that your hard work's paying off and people are seeing what you're doing. But at the end of the day, like I mean, I came in and I put a lot of work in, and it was tough. I mean, I thought I knew a lot about hitting. I thought I knew a lot about baseball in general, and there's a lot, just so much stuff that I learned last year, and I'm continuing to learn now. I mean, specifically with Coach Ramsey, our hitting coach. I mean, I think he's the best. If he's not the best guy in the country, I don't know who is. He helped me a ton last year. Went through a couple little swing changes, and really just propelled me to go in the spring.
And he's had quite some success when he was in college as well, hasn't he? I did have a question about him that I guess we'll hit right now. What is it like having him on your staff? I mean, he's a former ACC Player of the Year, first round draft pick for MLB, and I know he's also the recruiting coordinator. So he recruited you, right?
Yep. He's a big piece of why I ended up at Georgia Tech, and he's. I mean, he knows the game so well. I mean, obviously he played it, and he's a player's guy. And I mean, you can talk to him about baseball. You can talk to him about I mean anything. And he's one of the guys like is not like I know some schools kind of have like their model of hitting. Like this is how you swing. This is what you got to do. If you don't do this, then you're not going to play. But with him, it's kind of a more of like a he sees what you do well, and he helps you maximize that. And I mean, and it's been I can't explain enough how much he's helped me.
Yeah, he's obviously done a very good job because Georgia Tech is known for its hitting prowess over the last couple of years, and that's obviously James Ramsey's a big factor in that. One of the things I want to talk about is when you play, I don't want to say you play like angry, but you play as if it almost seems like you have a chip on your shoulder. Is that kind of what's going on? Like you have something to prove, or are you just out there just trying to be the best?
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of people doubt me. I mean, obviously for a long time now, it just a lot to do with my size. I mean, a lot of people think that that I can't do what some other guys can do just because I'm limited by my size. But I mean, I kind of try. I want to go out there and prove that to everybody every day that doesn't matter if the guy's 6'10" or 5'9", or I can. I'm still gonna be better than them. And but also too, I mean, I'm such a competitor. I want to go out there and win every day, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that you see is doesn't matter who it's against, NC State on a Friday night or Florida State or against Georgia State. I'm going out there and I want to win.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and it's clear I can see that on the field. Is like there's a little bit of swagger, but it's a lot of a lot of grit and like competitiveness, and it seems it's really good to see, and that's I think a big part of your success. Did you have a welcome to college moment when you arrived on campus in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, I had plenty of them. Well, it's funny actually. In the fall, I think I had once we started doing our real at bats, I had uh, I think maybe 2 strikeouts and no homers. So my swing was in a very different place last fall than it was than it got to in the spring, and I'd never really been very good at hitting the ball the other way. So that was kind of one thing that I was focused on, and I got a lot better at it, obviously. But I think there was one game in the fall where it was raining, and it was like, I mean, it had to have been like maybe 50 degrees tops, and Dawson Brown threw me like a 95-mile-an-hour sinker in off the plate, and I got jammed so bad that I couldn't hit for a week. And I started after that. I've used a pro hitter ever since. So that was kind of my one moment. I was like, yeah, this is a little different.
Love that. Love that. So one of the, you basically found success though right away in the spring. How are you able to kind of use that success to maintain your confidence, but not be too overconfident to avoid, how teams would adjust to you, because you were able to find ways to make adjustments to their adjustments throughout the season, and you were fairly consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's always a big thing. Is I mean, consistency. A lot of guys are very streaky, and I have my times where I'm really going hot, and I have times where I'm not going as well, just like any other guy. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just if you can control the zone and get pitches you like to hit, especially with how good the college zones are, which are, I mean, they're very different than what I've been used to in the past. I mean, it really helped me out last year, but it's just kind of a comfort factor thing where you can sit there and be like, this guy's got to come to me, and if it's not essentially if it's not something like that I feel like I can hit, I don't have to swing at it. So I mean that's a big part of it for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So talking about last season, you had a bit of an up and down season, but you guys ended up just turning it up towards the end of the season. What was that like? I mean, obviously, some people were on the Georgia Tech bandwagon from the beginning, pretty early on, even though some people, even Micah tried to talk me off it. Just as Micah likes to be like, oh, I'm Georgia Tech's biggest fan. I was like, we can pull the receipts from early on. But what was the turnaround last season that really made things work? Because, I mean, obviously, we talked about your consistency, but there was some struggles where, you dropped games to Boston College at home early in the season, but then I think you finished the season winning most of your series.
Yeah, we did it. We had a very old team last year, so we kind of knew it was one of those things that it's just a matter of, like, we had the experience. It was just a matter of getting the right guys going at the right time. And we had some. I mean, obviously, we had guys going really well early on, and then we had some guys kick it in late. And I think it's just one of those things that, I mean, obviously, you have all these guys that have played 200 college baseball games in their careers. It takes a while to kind of be able to I guess be a part of the same unit. And I mean those guys were great. And like I said, at the end of the year, we finally it felt like we finally kind of came together, and everybody was playing for the same goal.
And you that atmosphere in Athens, was that pretty cool? Like especially we got that Georgia Tech matchup that everybody wanted when the regionals were announced. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that was as cool as anything I've played in baseball wise. I mean they scored a few runs in the first inning, and they turned the lights out. Our guy went our Coach Taylor went out to for a mound visit, and they turned the lights out, and they were going Georgia from the left side,
Oh, that's so
Bulldogs from the
cool.
right side, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I was excited for that matchup when I saw the matchups come up. I'm like, if I need the Georgia Tech Georgia matchup. Although if Georgia gets upset before they get to face Georgia Tech, I won't be mad. But but you've got a lot of new faces here in the fall. What are the vibes like? I'm sure vibes are pretty high though after the success of last season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really really excited about what we have going on this year, and we've kind of switched lanes. The last couple of years, we've kind of gone in the role in the portal with older guys, and kind of filled in some roles with older guys that we got from the portal. But I mean, this year we are going to be young. I mean, there's going to be some. We got a really really good freshman class that came in, and a lot of those guys are going to have a chance to contribute a ton. We went in the portal and got some sophomore and junior pitching. That's going to be, I mean, stuff wise, we are so far ahead of what we were last year, and just pitching in general, we're so far ahead of what we were last year, and we're going to be a lot more athletic too, just all around the field. I mean, we're going to have, in my opinion, I think we're going to just have a lot more ways to win. It's going to be a little bit less of a kind of a bully ball, like just hit the ball out of the park approach. As we're going to be able to move guys, and I mean obviously we're going to have a lot of speed throughout the lineup, and guys, I mean plenty of guys with power too.
Yeah, I'm excited because I was looking through some of that freshman class and the transfer class, and I'm like, I'm really glad I'm. Oh, no worries. Really glad I'm making the trip down there to see you guys because it's a lot of the fall ball is seeing some of these new faces. As much as I'm like looking forward to seeing how you play, I already know what you're bringing to the table, But I'm excited to see someone like Tate McKee who looked really good during the summer, Carson Ballard who looked pretty good during the summer. So and then seeing all these new faces. Is there anyone to you that's really? I mean, everyone I'm sure is standing out, but is there anyone that's really standing out that I should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean Tate's a good one. He's made that next jump. He's been, I mean, sitting 95, 96 in scrimmages, and I mean obviously he throws that really really good slider. Starting to work in a changeup now, and he's got the big break model he's had. Von Lackey, he caught for us a lot last year. He's always been like an unreal defender. He's just a crazy athlete, but he seems like he's made that next step offensively, and he's been just smashing balls. I mean, all around the field. Kyle O'Deese and Carson Kirsch are going to be our guys at the middle in some form. And we got Georgia Southern, a transfer from Georgia Southern, Kent Schmidt. He's from Pope High School, and he's looked really good so far this fall. It's all over the place. We are looking really good. I'm excited.
Yeah, and you just reminded me how excited I am. I hope you guys have Florida State on the schedule for the Lodi Bowl that I did a graphic for their summer matchup. But Alex Lodi's and Kyle Lodi's facing off would be great during ACC play. But no, that's great. I'm really excited to see what you guys have, and obviously you guys have already started your inter-squad scrimmages. I keep seeing the social media posts, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was closer to Atlanta so I could pop over there and see some of that. But at least I'll be able to see you guys against Mercer, I think is who you're playing. But so the vibes are good. You got these new faces. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but who do you think has the chance to have like a breakout season in the spring? Obviously, you just mentioned Vaughn Lackey and Carson Kirsch. Those are two guys that kind of come to mind in my head as possible sophomore breakouts.
Yeah, I mean, I think Parker Brocious is another one that's been he's been a contributor the last couple of years, but he's going to be able to get run out there consistently this year. I mean, he can really really run, and I mean has the power to. Like I said, the Kent Schmidt from Georgia Southern, he hit. I think he hit like 330 or 340 for Georgia Southern last year as a true freshman, but he's starting to kind of take the tick up in power too, which is really exciting. And then I mean, freshmen have looked really good. Caleb Daniel and Drew Rogers and guys like that also are going to have a chance to get a lot of at bats.
Yeah, guys named Drew do pretty well for Georgia Tech, don't they?
Yeah.
And John Giesler is back, right?
Yep. Goose
Yep.
Goose is back.
Yep.
He's nursing a little shoulder thing right now, so we're hoping he'll be back by one of the next couple scrimmages.
Great, great. Yeah, I love it because one of my favorite things is there's a meme, and I think it's one with like you and I think Matthew Ellis were driving the Georgia Tech Ramblin' wreck vehicle, and then there's a goose, and all I did is I just took a goose and put Giesler's head on it, and it's one of my favorites. So like when I heard he was coming back, I was like, good, I get to use that more because it cracks me up as a personal thing. But what excites you the most? I mean, you've touched about a lot of things, but what excites you the most possibly about this team heading into the second half of fall ball and then into next season?
I mean, I think the two biggest things are going to be, number one, how much improved our pitching is going to be. Just the guys on average that we're going to be running out. Just like I said earlier, stuff-wise is going to be very, very different than last year. And number two is how athletic we're going to be and how much just how much we're going to be able to run. Honestly, we're going to have a really, really quick team, and like I said, we're going to be able to move the ball in lots of different ways.
I love that. You touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about James Ramsey, but Georgia Tech is been your school. That's been, I mean, I think you committed fairly early as well. Like, what made you choose Georgia Tech, and what's kept you happy there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the biggest thing is wherever you choose to go, you want to make sure that they develop, and that's Georgia Tech has. You mentioned earlier one of the best
hitting reputations.
Yeah, reputations of developing hitters in that there is, and that's a big factor. Obviously, being able to know that, I mean, guys like Mark Teixeira and Charlie Blackman and all these guys, big names that have come out, and even just in the past while, I mean, there's been so many high draft picks, and I mean, Kevin Parada and just guys like that I can kind of not necessarily take after, but I know that the system I knew that the system works coming in, and obviously now after being here, I see why.
Yeah, and Christian Campbell, who just had a monster campaign in the Red Sox system. I think he was the Baseball America Minor League Player of the Year.
Yeah,
Georgia Tech guy. So yeah, somebody mentioned him. I was like, that name sounds familiar, and I was like, oh yeah, he was the second baseman.
Yeah,
but yeah, Georgia Tech is always known for hitting the crap out of the baseball. So that's not a bad place to be if you want to develop. Was there anything in particular that you're looking to work on during fall camp?
Just honestly, I mean, being able to be more consistent, and a lot to do too with the whole base running side of things. I mean, I know that that's a kind of aspect of my game that I haven't really tapped into as much as I can. I mean, I've always kind of been a guy that I hit so many extra base hits. A lot of the time, it's I don't need to take the extra bases per se because I'm on second base a lot already. But that's kind of a thing. We have a new coach this year, Josh Schulman, and he came from Wofford, and obviously you know how Wofford is with the whole base running side of things, and he's been great, just kind of helping a lot of us guys with the whole like math side of base running, and you can break it down in a formula, and it makes it a lot more simpler.
I love that. I'd love to hear more about that from so making a note for when I come down there. You wear the number 8. You got I see the necklace there. Is that a number that you chose? And if it is, what's the significance of that number?
Yeah, I mean, I've been number 8 as long as I can remember. My dad played professional baseball. He was number 8 his whole time growing up. He played some football. He was number 8 in that too, and that's just kind of always been my number. And I mean, it means a lot to me now, just because of how much I've been able to wear it, and I've been able to continue to get it in most of the places I've gone.
I love that. I'm glad that I've asked this question to a bunch of guys, and a lot of them have just been assigned that number that they have. So they're like, oh, it's just the number I was given. I was like, oh, Okay. So I'm glad there's a good story behind yours, because I know your dad he's a coach as well, right? Like he's a big time baseball coach in Georgia, right?
Yeah, he actually the 5 Star, the travel baseball organization. He runs it. So he has been in baseball his whole life, and he's been very successful because of it.
Maybe it shouldn't surprise me how much you enjoyed playing baseball and then playing more baseball when you got to the Cape, because I was like, man, some of these guys. I mean, I was like, Drew could use a rest, man, and you just love baseball, so I'm sure you just wanted to be out there playing some more. We're gonna do some rapid fire kind of superlatives now. One of the ones I ask is who's the vibes guy? Who's the class clown of the team this year?
I think it's got to probably be Von Lackey.
Love that. Yeah, I'm also like taking notes so I can interview guys that have the right personality.
Yeah,
So
you got to make sure you get him. He's a good one.
that sounds like a good one. Who's your glue guy on the team? Who's holding the team together?
It's good to have a guy like Goose around. Honestly, that just he's done it for so long. And obviously, like I said, we're going to be a lot younger this year, but just having one of those guys around that have done it, and he knows the Georgia Tech way, and he knows. I mean, he's been through it, so it's good to have a guy like that.
Yeah, I imagine he's also one of the team leaders. I would imagine you're stepping into a big leadership role this year too, since you have such a young team. Are you one of the team leaders this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would like to think so.
Yeah. It's harder to ask that question because I toot my own horn, but yeah, I would imagine that with the success you had in the younger team, that you'd have to be one of the leaders in the team, especially since you hit towards the top of the order as well. But now this is a tricky question because you're going to have a long baseball career. You're going to have a long professional career. But what's your dream job outside of baseball? And you can actually say coaching if you'd like, because it's hard to actually get out of baseball sometimes. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think I've always been so deep into baseball. I mean, I've never really known anything else. So I find it hard to believe that I could really find anything to do outside of baseball. So, I mean, I guess coaching works for me.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I know this question's tough, especially when you've had so much success, and it's hard to think about an alternate there. But how about a local food staple?
we gotta my two. Well, I'll go on two different ends of the spectrum here. Fogo de Chao, all you can eat meat, Brazilian steakhouse. That's one of my favorite spots. And kind of on the lower end, there's a place called Wingnut Wednesday. We go every Wednesday. You get like 2 pounds of chicken tenders for like $15. So.
All right. Well, I know. Again, I'm coming in a couple weeks, so I know what I'm getting. Getting the meat sweats from the Brazilian steakhouse. Those are my favorite places. Is just like
yeah.
I'll like fast the whole day and like not eat, and then it's like I'm getting my money's worth. Get these sides out of my face. What about? Do you have a pregame ritual?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have a pretty extensive routine and I guess not necessarily superstition, but I mean a routine that I go through. I mean, not the morning of I shave and then I take a shower, cold shower. I like wash my body, like sometimes you don't like wash, you just kind of like rub the soap on you. Like I scrub it down on game days, just to get any of the bad juju I got
I
off.
love that.
And
love
then
that.
my bat's always got to be first on the bat rack. My helmet's always got to be first. I like to get the field early. I got a pretty good like 30-minute stretching routine that I do on game days. So I got quite a long list of them. I could probably go on for a while.
I love that. I love that because I know it's always interesting to hear that because it's not necessarily superstition, but it is something to like get your mind right to be ready to play. And yeah, that's awesome. And it's just also the fact that you just want to get out there and get there early, even though you're playing 60 games a season plus summer league, is pretty awesome. What about when you're taking BP pregame? What's kind of your focus there as you're taking hacks?
Yeah, usually I kind of I always like to go kind of put some balls on the ground the other way, and then just to make sure I can stay above and inside the ball. And then as my rounds go on, I'll work a little bit back towards the pull side. And usually my last couple of rounds, I'm just trying to bolt balls at the batter's eye. And I know if I'm backspinning balls to center field and hitting them hard, then I'm always going to be in a good spot.
Love that. Toughest pitcher that you had to face in the ACC last year?
Honestly, I think the guy that gave me most troubles, I don't know if I was just down bad that day or if it was shadows or what, but I think it's John West, maybe from Boston College. The big righty. He was just throwing like 88 mile an hour, like freaking bowling ball sinkers. And I don't, for whatever reason, we had some shadows that day too. And I just was not seeing him well at all.
He's not a bad pitcher. I mean, he's had some really great moments for them. The other question I'm going to ask is a Mount Rushmore of Georgia Tech baseball players. Who's on your all-time Mount Rushmore for Georgia Tech?
I mean, obviously you got to start off with Mark Teixeira. I think Charlie Blackmon's got to be on there. Probably Kevin Brown is another one.
Oh yeah.
How many people's on Mount Rushmore? 5? 4.
I'll let you go 5 though, because it's a tough list. Because
I think here I got a list behind me of the academic All-Americans.
There's Nomar Garcia-Parra, Jason Varitek.
Yeah, Garcia-Parra. I think Garcia-Parra and Varitek are probably good ones to chuck up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. That's why I was like, this is an interesting question.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Favorite ACC ballpark besides your own?
I really liked to hit in. Clemson's ballpark is unreal. that place is a launching pad. There's no telling what I'd do if I played half of my games in a season there. That's a great place to hit at. Virginia's atmosphere and Virginia's field was cool, and Florida State's atmosphere was great too.
Love that. Yeah, and you guys went to Virginia and took 2 of 3. That was the one time I got to see you guys in person last year. I think I got to interview you after the first game, which was pretty cool because you had an outfield assist that was like just unreal. But yeah, it's since I'm closest to Charlottesville, I get to see UVA a lot. So glad you guys were able to come up there for that. And it was funny because Micah and I both grew up UVA fans, and Micah texted me during the game, you guys, because it was a run rule against Virginia. And he was like, man, I'm turning this UVA game off. I was like, yeah, but you should turn on the Georgia Tech game. It's pretty good. Like that's the benefit of covering the whole conference. Like you can, it's like, yeah, turn off the UVA game, turn on the Georgia Tech game. You'll be a lot happier. Cause like I just switched sides in the middle of the game. I'm like, this is great if I'm enjoying it from the Georgia Tech perspective.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but last one, which teammate most deserves a fun meme and what do you think it would be? I'm still working on one for you because some of them seem too easy, like the Burr going off your name. I'm like, we gotta go a little bit harder than that. But
I think Vaughn will be a good one. I'm not exactly sure what he everybody calls him LeBron. Levon is so you could probably do something around that. I'm not exactly.
I like that. Yeah, we'll workshop that offline. It'll be I'll come up with something and come to you for approval. But that's all we got. Drew, thanks again for coming on. Do you have anything else you want to share before we sign off?
No, appreciate you having me on. I'm excited for you to come see us and just finish this fall up and get ready to go for the spring. Yeah,
I know. It's for me. I'm getting all excited. I'm doing podcasts, talking about what's going on. Then I have to take like a 3-month break or 2-month break, waiting to talk about the spring. So it's like a little bit of a tease, but that's going to do it for us here on ACC Central. Go Georgia Tech, go Yellow Jackets, as Micah likes to say. Buzz. We'll be back in a couple of days with another episode, but Thanks again, Drew, for coming on, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Yes, sir. Thank you.